Okay, thank you for this opportunity to talk about the American lawn. For this presentation, I'm defining the lawn as the closely cropped, carefully managed, intentionally planted grass that we have around our homes. You may wonder how we went from a land of meadows and woods to a land of neighborhood after neighborhood of almost identical lawns. The history goes back to the 1800s when wealthy Americans like Thomas Jefferson, and if you've seen Hamilton, you know that he spent a lot of time in France, started to copy the landscape of wealthy Europeans. This landscape involved large areas of grass and exotic plants. The Americans copied this exactly, including the exotic plants. They thought our native plants were too common. By the 1880s, middle-class Americans were becoming homeowners and property owners, and as a show of status, they copied the same aesthetic. By the end of World War II, Americans were pushing into the suburbs along with their lawns. By this time, the lawn care industry was big and growing. Grass is very strong, so our lawns tolerate foot traffic very, very well. And because grass is a plant, our lawns do all the good things that plants do. They hold our soil in place, they filter some pollutants out of our air, and they capture carbon. But there are problems. I know you knew this was coming. Our lawns are a monocrop that, according to an article published in the journal Environmental Management, cover an estimated 40 million acres of the United States. Monocrops are never good. And in spite of covering so much area, our lawns do not support our bird or pollinator population. Our practices, our lawn care practices, are also problematic. If we water, we're putting a strain on that valuable resource. If we choose to fertilize or use weed killer, we're adding dangerous chemicals to our waterways. And then we get to mowing. According to the EPA, Americans use 800 million gallons of gas per year mowing our lawns. This contributes directly to climate change and undoes any carbon capture that our lawns have managed. One quick solution is to mow our lawns less frequently, but what we really need to do is reduce the size of our lawns and plant instead native plants. Native plants, because they are plants, you've seen this list already, they hold our soil in place, they filter pollution out of the air, they capture carbon, just to name a few good things. But since they know how to grow here, we don't undo these things with our practices. We don't have to water, we don't have to fertilize, and we don't have to mow. In addition, our native plants do support our wildlife. Not only do they support our wildlife, they are essential to our wildlife, both local and migratory. But change is really, really hard. Our lawns are familiar. Many of us grew up with a lawn. We have a lawn in our homes now as adults. Our lawns help us conform to our neighborhoods. And let's face it, we like them. They're tidy. They're a tidy gateway to a possibly tidy house. Change is hard. I give you Exhibit A. We will call her my mom. My mom likes nothing more than a well-kept lawn. When we walk around the neighborhood, she always comments on the nice lawn. She takes great pride in her own lawn. This time of year, she considers the leaves on her lawn nothing short of an invasive species. And in spite of serious mobility issues, she can't help herself but going out to rake. We took her rake away, and on this day, I came upon her with her broom outside gathering leaves. I feel pretty certain that my mom is not alone in her love for lawns. Change is hard, but necessary. I recommend that we start by taking a walk around our yards and considering how we are using and not using our lawns. Is there a small area that might be better suited to some native plants? Some mountain mint that supports our bee population? Some native shrubs that will give food to our birds over the winter? Some milkweed for our monarchs. It's okay to start small, but I think we have to start somewhere and select areas of our lawn that might be better suited to some of our native plants. I'll give you a few examples of the possibilities. A few years ago, my son bought a house in the city, and when we were helping him move in, I saw his front lawn. It was 9 by 12. And I said to him, "Oh, this is useless. You are going to have to do something about this." And he said to me, "Have you seen how much work I have to do on the inside of the house? I can't care about this." And what I heard was, "Do whatever you want." So this may sound dramatic. I'm only saying it because it's true. One very rainy day, I got my shovel, I went to his house, and I dug up every blade of grass, and I replaced the lawn with some plants from my house. And his very first summer in the house, he had a very nice mini meadow, a 9 by 12 meadow. Many of us already do something like this because we love flowers. This is a mix of annuals and native perennials. We tend to plant along our paths and in front of our homes, and we leave these big rectangles of grass. These rectangles are well suited for a change. We can put some nice native plants in there. A nice grouping of milkweed would be nice to have in there. And it will reduce the size of that lawn. The next few slides are from my house. I don't have a lawn directly in front of my house. This is my view from my living room window, complete with my dog, who's always trying to figure out what I'm looking at. And in this mix here, I have beautyberry. Blue jays will come to eat that. I have winterberry holly, my favorite, also a favorite of bluebirds and robins. I have native grasses that add motion and texture. And I will leave you with one last picture. And this is the kind of thing that has my mom, you may remember her, convinced that I don't know what I'm doing. But the beauty I see here in the spent seeds of the hyssop is in knowing that all winter goldfinches will gather in my yard to eat these seeds. So I encourage all of us to reduce our carbon footprint by reducing our lawn size, planting instead native plants, moving us closer to more sustainable and ecologically sound landscapes. Thank you.